I think we were imprinted like ducks. And I grew up in a very small town. I grew up on a farm. And I remember vividly of a guy who owned a factory that had a silver Ferrari. This is 65 years ago, and I can remember that Ferrari as if it were yesterday. That was really an effect on my whole car passion. There's a lot about nostalgia. There's a lot about unfinished business, cars that you couldn't have that you can have. And I just think that's a big part for me, and I don't think it's very unusual.
As you were growing up, how did this then manifest more? I know you for many years. It's kind of pretty well developed in you now.
Yeah, it's not some fluke. My brothers were very opposite. One had an MG Vignette, which was a beautiful little British saloon sedan, walnut interior, red leather, and I think that was another thing. My first car was a 1958 Chrysler Imperial, which is as opposite as my cars are as you can be. I only have little convertibles like this one. This is the smallest, but that car cost $80, got 9 miles to the gallon, and I loved it.
You have like a great variety of cars.
Yeah.
You brought something very unusual today. What is it?
It's a 1991 Honda Beat. It's a Japanese K car, and you'll never see another one. They were never legally exported, and as I say, they have to be 25 years old before you can have one. I have all convertibles. I have all small cars, and I went to Lime Rock for their vintage weekend, and of course I know everything about cars. So I was stunned to see a car that I'd never seen before, and I was just beguiled by it. The owner lives also in Connecticut. He had 2 of them, and he had them for sale, and I drove one, and I just said, I have to have this. It was just pure fun. The ones he had were worn out and tired and smoking and not good cars, but it planted a seed that I knew I would find one someday, and even though they're so rare.
Where did you find it?
There's a guy in Christiansburg, Virginia, that has 1,000 Japanese cars. He has Japanese cars of every stripe, fire trucks, hearses, limousines. I had looked on the internet and picked out some that I thought would be a good choice. It was more expensive than the others, but it has aftermarket shocks, it has an aftermarket exhaust, it has a little different snout, which is neither here nor there, but it's really a great example. And it just has been a joy. It's just all about pure fun. And it's not fast. It's not, you've got the kilometer, you think you're going fast, and you're not. I've gone 115 kilometers. You have to figure that out. You're European.
Yeah.
How fast is that?
Like about 72 or something like that.
So there you go. There you go. It can go 72.
You bring this sometimes to events and stuff because it's so rare?
Yep, and because it's so fun. You know, if it's a twisty, curvy road, even though you're not going fast, you're having as much or more fun than anyone because it handles beautifully. It's got air conditioning, power windows, a very sophisticated radio, which I've got to get going because it's on a different frequency. It's got a dozen speakers in this thing. I mean, it's going to be one gigantic, slow-moving boombox once I get it going. I always build a scale model of my cars, and there is a scale model of the Honda Beat. This is pretty fantastic.
I see you at all events, you're helping to organize stuff, you're always happy to connect people. You connected me with David, obviously, so you were instrumental to bring this whole thing about.
I'm just a person. I'm not doing anything to raise awareness or consciously be a catalyst, but besides my hermit side, I also am a social animal, and I think that people respond to that in some way.
You know, I want to get your take on the community. There seems to be something special. I mean, it's different than like the people at your golf club or in your soccer club or something. I mean, car people.
I think it's just a way of connecting with kindred spirits or like-minded people. You know, I don't know if you want to get into the whole COVID thing, but I was really quarantining like crazy because of my age. And they started running these little caravans where we drive around And the first ones, we were very careful. We kept our windows up. And I just saw my friends through the glass in these cars, and we'd go like this.
Right.
But it felt so importantly connected, and it was such a panacea to being all alone and scared and worried about what's going to happen to us. That really, for me, was really illustrative of how this community is important and powerful. The situation, the crisis, the pandemic is too big for the car community, too big for any community. But that doesn't mean we don't do nothing. So we do what we can within the restrictions. We can still do good. We can still find ways. Maybe not as much as we could when we were free. One of the things that I did that was dazzling and just earth-shaking is an event called the Dream Ride. It's involved with the Special Olympics, with the Hometown Foundation. And if I talk about it too much, I'll get a little too emotional. It's a gigantic car show. It's a huge event. And you give a child a chance to have a ride in your car. These are special needs kids. It's transcendent. It sounds so silly, but the entire town comes out. It changes that kid for the day. You're really having a great time, and you're doing a lot of good. A cold-hearted old man like me was just totally blown away. We can't change the world, but we can make it a little better.